while we're going. Hey, Cathy, thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Was to create this outlet for people to have a place where they can come and learn, and where there is experts hanging out with people who are just getting started, and tons of people who are well on their way, and it provides an opportunity for you to mix and mingle and ask questions and connect and network and all the amazing things that come from being in a group. And so those of you guys who are here, I really encourage you to make this call yours. I think one of the values of being on here live is that you really get a chance to impact what Cathy covers. And we're going to record this so you guys can go back and watch this later. And of course, it'll be sent out to the rest of the community to watch. But you guys have the ability to really impact the direction of the training. So I'd encourage you to take notes, ask questions in the chat. We'll probably have some opportunities for people to chime in as we go through it, because I know Cathy has some things that she's written in her book. She has some things that she's been working on since then, and then now you'll kind of get the culmination of all of that. So without further ado, let's just hop into it. And Cathy, I was talking you up while you were grabbing some water, but Cathy, Christen is someone who I've had the pleasure of knowing and working side by side with for a number of years, and always has been someone who has excelled at all levels. And we both came up in the sales world, and she was someone who was always at the top of the charts and always someone who was leading the way. And a lot of times you see these big sales leaders, or you see these these industry leaders, and a lot of times they're not as real or authentic as you might hope and expect. But one thing that I've learned about Cathy is that the reason she is successful is because of her ability to connect with people and to get through to people. And I was saying earlier, Cathy, that the word that comes to mind when I think of you is don't take this the wrong way, because I'll get to it, is killer, right? Like, I always think like Cathy's a killer, but what I think is like you're an excuse killer, and you're really you put out all of the excuses and really allow your people, your team, and now your tribe that you've built to really succeed. So I'd love for you, Cathy. I know we're going to go through your 7 steps, and if you guys go to cathychristen.com while she's chatting, I will drop the link so you guys can go and download the PDF. But catch us up on kind of how you got to this place and why you're so focused on peak performance and helping people to really design a life that they live, that they love.
Yeah. So thank you for having me, first off, and thank you for the kind words. It means a ton. And I want to apologize in advance. Those who are at One Life, you'll see me much more energized. We had so many delays flying home last night and didn't get home till 5 in the morning. So I'm like way ready for bed. So just wrapping up. So over the last 17 years of sales and entrepreneurial, I realized that there's a lot of people that haven't, reasons that I've seen that are so common in terms of what stops them internally, right? And then there's other factors that I'll share as well. But first I realized there's people that are like how I was when I was younger, where I didn't realize the potential that I actually had, right? I didn't know that I could be that. I thought, this is who I am, and I'm going to do the best with what I have, but I wasn't born into that family or have those resources, but it's okay. But I'm going to do the best with what I have. And so I was brought up with very, amazing parents who were like, we're going to do everything we can with what we have. But there was never a thought about creating more, or I just never thought that I could have that life or those things or that kind of impact or influence, or so they just don't know. Then I think there's people that do know. They know what they've been blessed with. They know the connections they have. They know what tools and resources and talents and gifts that they've been given. But they're just kind of like, I have time. I'll do it later. I'm just going to party for now and do my thing. And I'll get to it. And sometimes that I'll get to it might take not just years, but even I've seen people decades. And then they go, oh crap, holy crap, look at all this time I wasted. And then they almost feel bad about it. But they're just procrastinating. And so they're not living up to what they could do. And then they end up being like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And kind of beat themselves up. The third group I found are people that are very bitter about the cards they were dealt. They're just angry. And these people They're just like, they're angry at the world. They're like, well, look at me. Like, of course your stuff is great. Like, look at what you have. And so it's that they see what everyone else has, but they don't try to do the best what they have. They're just like angry that they don't have that. And they don't realize like, okay, well, you can just get a new, a new hand dealt if you wanted to, but they don't think that way. They're just like mad at the world. And lastly, I found that it's really just lack confidence. They were verbally abused, they were physically abused, they went through things, and they just lack confidence to step out and do what they think they could do because they're not sure if they can do it. Because again, those like voices and the abuse and things in their head. And I've seen that in our lives, a lot of people know what they don't want, but I found that a lot of people don't take time to clearly identify what they do want. And I think that's really important, and as I wrote the book really is just a culmination of my coaching of the past 17 years. I wanted to have it as for my great grandkids to have one day, but I was teaching so many other people in transition and showing them like how to really like create whatever you want, that you do have the ability to design a life that you love, regardless of resources, regardless of whatever limitations you think you might have right now. If you really want something, you can go out and create it, but it all starts with one, identifying what it is that you actually want. So Hector, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of what guided me here. And I've really had a passion for seeing people really take advantage of the days that they have. And that's why I love One Life Fully Lived. And it's so aligned with what is happening in this organization, in this community, because people waste so many days. It drives me nuts. And for anyone who has read the book, you'll see like my cousin passed away unexpectedly, had a brain aneurysm when we were in our mid-20s. My sister passed away 28 years old, right before her 29th birthday, unexpectedly, car accident, gone, and they were doing incredible things in the world. And so I became very passionate. And for me, I almost died. I should have died in a car accident when I was 19, but nothing happened to me. And I knew that there was something bigger and my creator had kept me here. But it was a sign of like, hey, like your days are limited. Like stop wasting them. Like you've been given resources. Go out and do something great with them. And I really believe that that's our job, to like be a light to those around us. And I believe that's our purpose in life, is to find the things that light us up and shine as brightly as we can, and there's a lot of cool things that we can do there.
That's beautiful. And I didn't know all that about your story and your family, and it makes so much sense. One of our co-hosts for our podcast is a mutual friend, and Carolyn Ostrak. And yesterday we were chatting with our guests and just talking about how those challenges really make strong people. So talk to us, because I know the answer here, but one thing that I've been impressed with is all of the different types of people and the different careers and industries and ways in which you've helped people, because it's not something that just works for women or just works for entrepreneurs or just works for one type of person. Can you kind of talk about maybe why there's been that thread of success?
Like why it works everywhere.
Right.
Well, and it all goes back to when you have a larger vision and you give different meaning to the work that you're doing, you're so much more fulfilled, right? And there's just like purpose in every action that you take. You could be cleaning toilets, right? But cleaning toilets, like someone has sat down with you and showed you that by cleaning X amount of toilets, working this amount of days, saving this amount of money every week, little by little, you're going to get to buy that dream house you thought you might never be able to buy, because no one in your family's ever owned a home, and no one ever had the money for college, or no one ever had the money for this. But they made a plan. And so every day as you get up, like there's purpose in your work, and you're like, I can't wait to go and like scrub those toilets and do everything that I can. And there's a great story that is told in Matthew Kelly's Dream Manager. And that's where it first really hit me. I'm like, man, like anything you're doing, the day-to-day like stuff that sometimes isn't that fun, when you have exciting goals and vision ahead of you of like what it is, where it's getting you, like where that vehicle's getting you, it makes it a lot more fun to ride. And so remembering that a lot of our jobs, a lot of times for people, their jobs or their careers are a vehicle that are getting them somewhere. So I'm very inspired to be able to help people, like even if they don't want to shift work. I love starting businesses. My favorite thing in the world is to help people create time and money freedom so they can do what they want when they want. And that's what I do through Start Girl and helping people start businesses. But even if you don't have your own business, you work as an employee, like no problem. Like how can you bring more meaning to that and say, where's this taking me? What is this going to create for me? And maybe it's just you have a 3-year plan of saving this and this and that, because then that's going to get you the funds you needed to start X, Y, and Z business, or to buy those investment properties, or to do whatever you wanted. And so now it makes it exciting, because that vehicle is getting you to a really exciting place. So you just need to know the place you're headed, because it makes like the journey, like you could be on a bus, you could be on a bike, you could be on whatever, but if you know where you're going, you're like, I can't wait to get there. Like there's just more excitement along the way. And so for me, whether somebody's a real estate agent, or they work maintenance type work, or they work, like I've worked with all sorts of people, but them really understanding like what it is that they want long term. And that's what we'll go through the 7 steps. Like this process works with anybody, anywhere. Do this with your families, do this with your teams, your employees. This is a process that I created through a lot of different things I had heard, and going through my first dream session, 12 and a half years ago, I went through my first dream session, and it was there that I was really blown away. And I said, wow, this makes things even more exciting. Because again, for me, I'd always been really motivated, but I was really motivated about what I didn't want. I didn't want to be poor. I didn't want to struggle. I didn't want to see the fights that I saw in my house. I didn't. And so I worked my butt off always. And I was a very high achiever, going against what I didn't want. But I never created what I did want, right? It didn't create like my dream life. And it wasn't until I did this that I was like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing. And it gave me larger targets. And it also, I think there was also a sense of permission I had to have, because there was at one point where I felt like it's wrong to want more. And it really depends on like that motive. And it really became a shift when it was like, the more I have, the more I can give. Like the more I have, the more I can impact. And that became really exciting. And so now I was like, all right, we got to do all this stuff so that we can be able to give back and do cool things for people and host parties. And because again, my creator's given me the ability to like create so much and create abundance. And so how can I do that to serve others?
That's beautiful. So let's get into it. You mentioned the 7 steps, and I mentioned that I put it in the group chat. You can go to cathychristen.com and get it. Let's dive into it.
And I'll share here to go through, and we'll do, I want to walk through more of the concepts. It'll be a mini version, but I really encourage you guys to really walk through this. And when you go on cathychristen.com, you have to go on a computer. The pop-up doesn't occur on a cell phone, but on any laptop or any computer, it'll pop up, and you can put that in there and you get that for free. And again, I recommend using this with anybody, and I'll be doing a full long workshop right after One Life going through this, but you can do this on your own. And so the first thing is just taking time to actually, like we were talking about, think about what you do want, so having that dream session and have fun with it, play with it. So for me, I always recommend people to go somewhere where creative juices flow, or any place that puts you in that happy place. So for me, that's by the ocean, or by the mountains, like being in nature. But hearing ocean waves is one of my happiest places. But whether it's like at sunset makes me really happy, with great music playing, whatever it is. For some people, it could be inside. Maybe it's like this great room you have in your house, or this couch, this cozy corner, putting on some of your favorite music and putting candles on, and it makes you so happy. But somewhere where you are able to heighten that state of bliss for yourself, wherever the natural, you just light up in that environment. That's where I would do this. So I'd sit by the ocean, or sit outside, or sit in your house and put on that music or whatever it is, and say, okay, no limits, no little voices in your head. No, that's dumb. Or no, there's not money for that. Or there's not going to be time for that, or whatever it is. Throw it all away. Throw it all away and say, okay, anything, everything. I can just wave a magic wand, and I get whatever. And I can create whatever experiences for myself, for my family, for those I don't know. What could that look like? And just start writing, and just start going through. And I shared the 12 categories that I heard Matthew Kelly share. So this is from him, and then I put miscellaneous, I added more, but this is what I've done with people for over 12 years. And so going through and thinking about what are physical goals that you have. Maybe you want to buy your parents a house. Maybe you want to have a boat. Maybe you want to have certain, things that you want, but just physical, possessions that, those are material possessions, but physical being your body. So your health, do you want more energy? Do you want to gain more weight? Do you want to gain more muscle? Are you looking to lose weight? Are you looking to have a certain percentage body fat? Do you just want more energy, right? Just want to be more vibrant? What is it? And so what needs to be done with sleep, with eating, and so just any physical goals that you have. And then materials, what I was just saying in terms of material goals with house, cars, things you want to own, Maybe you want to have like a whole commercial strip, like whatever it is, just cool things. And that could even tie into financial too, because some of those might be investments. But one of my material goals is to buy this property in Puerto Rico that's oceanfront on the west side in one of the surf capitals of the world, Rincon. And I want to build this amazing, like I've already drawn it out, everything's there. And so I'm going this year to see if the land is still for sale, and buy the land and then build in a couple of years. But it's incredible. And that's a goal I've had for 7 years. And when I went last year, it was still for sale. And I was like, all right, if I go back this year, like it's meant to be, like I'm buying it. But if not, then I will, do have that same plan somewhere else. But just thinking about those things. And for me, that material goal is so exciting because for me, it's all about like family reunions. It's a place where I can bring all my family together, my family from Puerto Rico, my family that doesn't live there, and be able to have incredible reunions back home, be able to bring friends and family to my island, my country, where I was born, and be able to see like my roots and get to experience the people, the culture, the food. That excites me, And so when you're looking at material goals, it's not bad to have, like, what does it provide for you, right? Some people are like, it's bad to have material goals. Like, if you have the wrong, if you're like, I just want to be rich, people to look at me, that I'm flashy, like that's one thing. But, like I love creating space to entertain and bring people together. Like that's so exciting to me. So thinking about those material things, thinking about your emotional goals, having more inner peace, having more maybe dealing with some of the little demons in your head, rewiring some of those old tapes that are playing like outdated information, because it's time to really reprogram yourself, right? So all of these things, making sure that you're thinking about like, man, I want to fix my relationship with somebody, like maybe it's a brother or sister or a parent, somebody that you have fallen out with in some way. And you're like, I really want to fix this, like, because I want to be someone who's loving and kind. And I don't want to have this anger or resentment or bitterness inside of me. So thinking about those, emotional goals are really important. Creative goals, maybe it's playing an instrument, maybe it's learning a language, maybe it's doing like more arts and crafts. Like one of my goals for this year is to do like do-it-yourself type things. At least once a month or once a week. I'm like, I don't know if I can commit to that, but having a night where we just play and make fun stuff for the house and just hang out and do creative things and get into that space, because I'm an accountant brain, like go, numbers, execute. So it's just good to do things that get you into that type of thinking, and a lot of beautiful things come out of that. Adventure is my biggest list. I literally, when I did this for the first time, and he's like, don't stop till you get to over 100, over 50 of them were travel goals. And it's like, and be as specific as you can. I was like, I want to do a hot air balloon at a sunrise in Istanbul. I want to ride an elephant over in Thailand. I want to eat sushi in Japan. I want to, go to the Olympics. I want to go to Brazil and play volleyball on the beach at Copacabana. I want to, like all these things. And I was just like writing down things that would be super cool, like go to the Swiss Alps, and have a hot chocolate and go visit here. And so just have fun with it. And write down like cool adventure goals. Maybe it's US. One of mine was to do an RV all across the nation and see all the major parks, with my spouse and kids. And so that was something I wanted to do like in my 50s. I thought would be cool, and just take time away and go adventure and see our beautiful, the United States. Like our country has a lot of beauty in it. And I think that I neglected that for a long time because I love to go in other countries, right? But there's so much here to see too. Professional goals. Maybe there's certain promotions that you're looking for. Maybe there's a certain like a company you want to start, right? Or you want to work for. And so you're working hard now to be able to get to a place where you can be there and thinking about those things. With intellectual goals, like what would stimulate your mind? Do you, and that could also, learning another language can go into there. Do you want to return to school to get a master's program? Do you want to have, graduate program, or, do you want to have read a certain amount of books? All right. These are all things that you guys can look at, when it comes to like intellectual goals. Spiritual goals. This could be as simple as inner peace. It could be doing devotions, praying, mindfulness, meditation, any way that you're creating at a higher level with your creator, whoever that might be. Give me one second.
She's back. Guys, if you guys have any questions, you guys definitely throw them down there.
I just choked a little bit.
That's okay.
I apologize. So we talked about spiritual and then financial goals. You guys talk about that a ton, but thinking about like when you're going to have your first 100 grand saved, when you're going to have your first 100 grand invested, when you're going to have your first million, one of my financial goals is to give away $1 million in a year. So first I want to give away 100 grand in a year, but I have a level of, I'm like, one day I want to just give away $1 million in a year. That really, really excites me. So that's a financial goal that I have, legacy, like how do you want to be known? How do you want to be talked about? What are you leaving behind for your family? What will people say about you when you're gone, right? So what type of a person were you when you describe yourself, right? And so we can start acting as if and becoming that person. And that can go into character, right? Or not. Some people, their legacy is different things they want to leave behind. Some of these are going to cross over, so these are just kind of thought joggers for you. And even with psychological of like being able to deal with some of the things that, hold you back and really pushing past that. So there's a lot of good thought joggers that you can find to do this. Don't feel like I have to do every category, but just taking time to just sit and just write and keep going. Like one of mine is doing a ballroom dancing competition, a salsa when I'm 60. One of mine is walking a marathon when I'm 80, and just like random little things. I'm like, I want to have a 50th anniversary ball. I want to have a masquerade, I want to do once a year, do a family vacation, bring my family together for a reunion. So just thinking about like cool things that would really excite you when you say, what is my life? Like, I love my life. What does it look like? Who's around me? What are we doing? What are we experiencing? What's happening? And just being able to like just jot those things down again without stopping yourself of going, that's not realistic, or I don't know how that's going to happen. Like throw that out the window. Doesn't even matter. So once you've done this step, now you go to step 2. And so step 2 is to identify your top 20 non-negotiables. Maybe you do 10, whatever it is. But I usually tell people, look at your list of 100. What are your top 20 non-negotiables? And what I mean is that you're like, this is happening. Because there's some things that are on your list that you're like, well, that would be nice. And then there's things on your list that you're like, this must happen, right? So what are the things that you're like, this must happen? And then why? And this is really important to talk about why. And just yesterday or Monday, I was speaking to a team or a group of people at the Passion Summit. And as I was talking to them, I shared with them, I have something I call my 3 whys test, right? And I think this is great to do to yourself. You can have someone else do it to you. But I always say that you want to ask like, oh, so what's your dream? Like, why is that important to you? And you're like, oh, you share. You're like, cool. And so why is that important to you? And you're like, oh, well, my family is really big. And it's like, well, and why does that matter? And like, well, when I was younger, my dad used to abuse us. And then all of a sudden you get to something way deeper, as to like why that family vacation was so important. And getting to those deep reasons is really huge when it comes to execution. And we'll talk about that more later in this process. But really knowing for yourself, like, why is this really important to me? You're like, family is everything. Like having my family vacation once a year, like or family reunion, like that's a must. Like I'm putting that. It's like, this is important because family means so much. It's like, well, why? But then it's like, well, we never had it growing up. Like we didn't have anything with family. I was abused, I was neglected, or I was this or that, or whatever. And so now it's like, there's a deeper, like, and I want to provide this for my future family and my kids and grandkids and great grandkids so that they don't have to go through that. That is going to make it a lot more practical. Like that's going to happen. It's going to give you a lot more ammo when crap hits the fan and there are obstacles in the way, where it might be easy to give up on some things, but is it easy to give up and say, oh, screw it, I don't want my family to have that anymore? It doesn't matter. It's okay that it's like it was when I grew up. You're like, no, hell no. So being able to have someone, and whether it's written down somewhere or accountability partners or coaches that you have, maybe you have a life coach, or for me, I'm a business coach. But when someone, comes to me and they're like, oh, I just, I don't know, I think I'm not going to go towards that anymore. I'm going to do this. I'm like, really? I'm like, so you're going to tell me that, and I'll remind them of some of the stuff they said. And I'm like, that just doesn't matter anymore, because I don't care about the goal. I care about what the goal meant to them. And so I'm able to remind and go, so basically this, that really didn't mean anything. You're like, oh, well, of course it does. And I'm like, then why are you throwing it out the window? I'm like, it's getting hard, it's getting difficult. And so you're saying like, oh, it's okay, but is it okay? Like not to take action on that. So it really gives more leverage to any accountability partners that you have. And I strongly recommend having someone other than yourself. So it's really good to share with other people once you have this. So The third step is to actually take time to put these into when this is happening, right? So time frames. So sitting down and saying, okay, so of those 20, like what are things that I want to focus on this year? You know, and picking those 3 to 5 things or whatever it is that you're like, this is this year. You know, what are the things that I definitely want to have accomplished in 3 to 5? What are things that I want to make sure are accomplished within the decade? And what are things that just in my life? Because there's some things that you're like, I don't really care when it happens. It'd just be really cool to get it. You know, like I definitely want to do this, but like I could be 30, I could be 50, like, you know, it could be whenever, you know, God willing, and you know, that you're around always. But just looking at what's most important right now and identifying that, because it lets you focus on what needs to get done. And sometimes some of the 3 to 5 year goals, actually many times, those further goals have micro goals that need to get hit now to keep you on track for that. So it's really good to know exactly like timeframes and like set timeframes for it. And so this is really cool. I had somebody that I was working with, and they, you know, they were setting goals and putting time frames, and what they realized is they were hitting them even quicker just by writing them down and telling their subconscious, this is what I want. And it knowing that, it was amazing how things just popped up, people that they met, things that came and just showed up. Because their mind knew it was looking for it. Does that make sense? You know, so when your mind really knows where it wants to go, I talk about this always. So people get sick of hearing me talk about it. I'm like, it's like a GPS. You know, like if you're in a GPS, you have to put that end destination so it knows where to go. And even when you have those obstacles, you have detours, you have roadblocks, like it knows where it needs to go. So it's going to reroute to be able to go and get you there, right? So when you write those things down and you've identified them, like your brain knows where it needs to go. When you give it a time frame, it knows how fast it needs to get there. And so it starts moving. It starts moving and it serves you. It's amazing what your brain will do for you if you're focused on what needs to happen and it knows what's going on. Cool. So that's really big. So I'll pause real quick. I don't know, Hector, if you want to say anything before I keep going.
No, I think this is great. I asked in the group what some of non-negotiables from the group was, and Julian mentioned that vacation was one for him. So I think that just having this written out is a very practical motivator, and it's something that's great for everyone to do. So
yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Ventures with my friends on a regular basis, 7-day vacation in another state or country at least 2 times a year. Very cool. And it's something that fuels us so much to be around people that we love and be doing cool things, like living life together, right? Actually going out there and like living life. So once you have your goals here, now you want to focus on your 1 year, right? And you want to say, okay, cool, let's break it down. What actions do I actually have to take monthly, weekly, or even daily in order to get this done? So breaking down what actually needs to happen so you can see all the baby steps, right? So I had a client who wanted to open a gym, you know, and he was like, oh, well, you know, it might take me a while. And I don't know, like it might take like 10 years or something. And I was like, okay. So we started talking about it. And when we sat and actually looked at his goal, I was like, all right, well, let's break it down. How much is it going to cost you? He's like, 10,000. I'm like, okay, just to open the first version of whatever he wanted to do with his training. I said, okay. And then to the next, he's like, I want to start my own training company. And he's like, so I need this. I said, okay. So we did that. And when we broke down these things, and he saw that, and here it is, it's called, I give this example in the book, called Skip Happy Hour, right? So Alex wanted to be a fitness coach, we went through everything, but basically he needed $10,000 to make this into reality. So we broke it down into monthly, and we set options for monthly amounts in a 1 year time span, a 2 year time span, and a 3 year, just to show him what it would take, right? In terms of monthly, to have to put aside. And so that way he'd know how much he has to save, you know, each week to get it done in a year. And so it actually turned out to be $192 that he had to save per week. And so this really like opened his eyes, because he was like, shit, I spend that at happy hour. He's like, sometimes I spend that without even planning to spend that when I go out with my buddies during the week. And we'll go out Thursday, we'll go out, you know, all your friends, BYOB, bring something over, put on some chill music, and like hang at the house, and like make drinks and have fun and connect. And I said, and because I said, do you want to go meet people? And I said, and tell them to invite friends of theirs, but do happy hour at the house each week, once a week. And he did that. And he was like, he loved having everyone over and entertaining them. And he didn't look back, and he did that. And in less than a year, he ended up getting that done, So I just think that once you have that bigger thing and you're able to break it down and look at it, you can go, okay, I can do this. I had another lady who wanted to go take her family on a trip to Europe. And it was the same thing. She's like, I don't know when I'll ever be able to do that. I'm like, well, how much would it cost to do your dream vacation? And so her dream vacation was going to cost about $7,000. I said, okay, cool. What would that take? And we broke it down. And again, we looked at it in a year, and 2 years, 3 years. And she ended up doing it in 6 months. And she took her family on this dream vacation where she thought oh my God, I don't know when I'll ever be able to do this, But it's when she saw it on paper, she's like, oh my gosh, I can do that. I can save that. And she got really excited about putting money aside to be able to go make that happen. So again, there's just so much power in this when you have this down. Step 5 is breaking it down. So once you have the tasks that need to get done, you have to actually put it in. And I'd say, this probably shouldn't be called break it down, actually. Oh, they repeated it. That's why I was like, huh? So now I just found a little mess up in my thing. But step 5 should be put it down, right? Or put it in the planner. So now we actually need to give it a time. When is this happening? So we know what needs to happen monthly, weekly, or daily. When is it happening? So grab your planner and say, okay, this is happening here. Or every morning for an hour, I'm working on this. Or every, Monday of the month for 5 hours, I'm working on my book. Or, whatever it is that you want to get done, but you've got to put time for it. We all make time for the things that are important to us. And if there's something that's really important, we'll tell people oh no, I can't make that because I have this, right? And so we prioritize the things that are important to us, things that are urgent to us. So if this is really important to you, you have to put it in the schedule and stick to it and go, nope, I can't, I'm busy at that time, because that's your time to work on whatever dream it is that you're working on. But have it in there. If it's not set, if it doesn't have a set time, it's not going to get done. It's going to keep getting pushed away, So make sure that it has a set time so that it gets done. Step 6 is something that I heard years ago when I was actually going through a UPW. It was a version of this. I know I talk about this in the book, but Anthony Robbins does something called Dickens Process. All right. And I've, some people love Tony Robbins, some people don't. Doesn't matter. He's got a lot of great content. But this was something that was really powerful to me, and I really loved, because people do more to avoid pain, than to go towards pleasure. And so really having that leverage point of knowing if I don't do this, what is it gonna mean, right? So I said, to one of my clients, she was a real estate agent, and, she had to make 25 calls a day, and she had it on her, we ended up putting up above her desk, 25 calls a day equals a life of my dreams, because if she made 25 calls a day, we broke down what her average is, what she would sell, what she would earn. That would take care of the life of her dreams, everything she wanted to do. If she made 25 calls a day, it was going to happen, right? And so we looked at this and said, well, how about if you didn't do that? What does that mean? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, if you don't do it, if you don't make your 25 calls a day, if you don't hit this goal for the year, if you don't earn this money, why does it matter? And she's like, well, what do you mean? Then I can't do this with my boys, and I'm not going to be able to have the house, and I'm not going to be able to pay for the college. And I said, so, and why does that matter? We went with 3 whys negative. And she's like, well, what do you mean then? They won't have an education, and how about if they can't get a job? And I was like, why does that matter? She's like, my kids could be homeless on the streets, begging for money. And I'm like, okay, so so is this something that it's worth making sure this gets done every day? She's like, absolutely. And it was a new drive for her, but looking at both sides of why it's exciting, but also well, what would it cost you not to do it? Well, if you didn't do that action, does that really matter? And looking at that, because some people are like, oh, if I don't do it, it's okay. It doesn't really matter. Well, then that's not a goal that you're going to ever accomplish. So you need to relook at it and pick something else, because if you said, if this didn't get executed and you didn't get X, Y, and Z done, and you were okay with that, then you didn't really care about that. That wasn't a non-negotiable, but knowing that side of it and playing that worst case scenario out in your head is also good to have that scary part that's I gotta do this. I do not want my kids to not be able to go to college, not be able to get an education, have to be working random jobs, or then be on the streets, or do this just because I was too scared to make freaking phone calls, or whatever it might be. But it definitely puts a little fire under your bootay to get going. And lastly is just committing and getting that accountability. So I just, I have this little thing that they sign, but they usually give this to me when I'm coaching them. I tell people in their communities in their businesses who use this. I'm like, have them print it out. I said, have a wall, even if you cut out the middle part and saying like, I'm going to do this, and put it on a commitment wall where people look at it and they can say, hey, how's that 30-minute a day workout going? Hey, how's this going? Hey, how's that going? Put it out for the community to see. That's beautiful for people to be encouraging each other and holding each other accountable on their goals. And if you're like, oh, I don't want anyone like holding me accountable, I hold myself accountable. Well, then it doesn't matter. Like, let them celebrate with you. You know, to me, when someone says that, it's because like they want an out and they don't want to be called out on their stuff, you know? So let them celebrate with you. If you're actually doing it, what does it matter if it's up there and you don't need the accountability? If they go, hey, Hector, how have your, bike riding every day been going and whatever? And you're like, dude, I've been crushing it. I'm down to blank minutes a mile. I'm like, heck yeah. And they can just celebrate with you. And it can be a great thing, you know? So making that commitment and knowing to find that, accountability. And there's so many wonderful things, right, to sustain. Like I think about, you want to actually sustain this success. All right, cool. Well, Miracle Morning, and many of you guys, I assume, have heard of Miracle Morning with Hal Elrod. That's a great way, that's an easy way. Savers. But just having some kind of like morning ritual to remind you of those things, vision boards, meditation, visualization, journaling. I've heard of people having like vision notebooks, vision walls, vision boards, all sorts of fun stuff, but having things where every day you're taking time to look at it, remember why it's important to you, feel it, get excited about it, be proud about having achieved it already, and then going out there to do the work and letting your mind, body, soul get after it, knowing where it needs to go.
That was fantastic. I've got one question here for you, Cathy, but then I'd like to have the rest of the group get their questions ready because
absolutely
we've got some time. I have a two-part question. Maybe it's the same answer, maybe it's not. The first thing is in doing and starting a new business or going into a new field, in that breakdown process, what if you maybe don't know all the answers or all those steps, you don't have to
I think it's important to have a coach as you're going through stuff, so just having coaches and great people that can guide you in that process. I mean, there's so many amazing people, and you guys in this community, I mean, there's so many incredible resources just from Hector alone and like other people that can sit and help in that process, but not being afraid to ask for help. I think sometimes we think we have to do it all on our own when there's so many incredible minds of people who have already done it and perfected it. So shorten your learning curve, let the pride down and ask for help. There's amazing people out there.
I think that was what I had anticipated as I was writing the question. I thought that would probably be where you'd go. And I know that's such a big part of how you're able to help people is that coaching. And then my next kind of part of the question is what if in that breakdown process, you see that there needs to be some sort of quantum leap in your results, or you see that maybe working harder or just working more is maybe not the end, that there's a way to get there in terms of just your effectiveness improving and improving your efficiency and stuff like that. So
you broke out a little bit. Can you say the question again?
Yeah. How do you go to that quantum? Like, I know what I've seen in the people that you've worked with is you help them to go to that next level, right? Whatever that is for them, you help them to go from a 4 to an 8 or a 5 to a 10. So where does that happen? And how do you, if you're looking at your plan, you're thinking, well, I need to be better, or I need to really, have this quantum.
I think it goes along the same lines, like there's the coaches that help you put it together. And then there's the people that help you elevate, because even for me, when I was trying to do, and even today, to this day, if I'm looking to elevate certain parts of my business, I was talking to John Rulin the other day about stuff, and he's like, you should totally work with my coach for this and this. He's like, I've been working with them for 12 years. They're amazing. And I'm always looking to see, how can I take it higher? How can I make this better, stronger, and create great systems and programs? So those are things that I want to do. And I think, so I really believe it's along the same lines, whether you're starting something and figuring it out, or you're wanting to like elevate it. So people, coaches, but also like the circles that you hang around. So incredible masterminds, reading, like there's a lot of cool stuff. But I think taking time again when you're like, okay, I want to take it here. Anytime you're in transition, whether it's transition up, transition this way, transition whatever, I think it's important to look again at the whys. Like, why do I want to take it here? Why does it mean something? Because anytime you're expanding yourself, you're expanding your business, there are going to be growing pains, and there are going to be things stopping you from getting to that next best level of you. So there has to be strong reasons of why you're doing it and why you're going through the crap to get to the great. You know, I use an example constantly about like remodeling a house, right? Because I'm like fixing my house up, but you know, you're like, all right, the house looks great. You know, like it looks really good. We could leave it how it is, but I want it to look like amazing. So that means that there's going to be a time that there's an ugly part, right? So my room was like really gross, like yellow walls when we bought the house, and like carpet. And I was like, it was just like an ugly, like, it was ugly from like 1970. And I was like, all right. So some people were like, oh no, it's kind of cool, vintagey. I'm like, it's nasty. So we went through a process where it looked like crap because we had primed the walls and we ripped out the carpet and like the floor was all dirty and nails and just so gross. And now you walk in and it's so clean and so chic and so beautiful. And we painted the walls and super clean. And we put these gorgeous, you know, hardwood, bamboo, dark wood floors with texture that look amazing, you know, but that time in between was really ugly and like messy and felt like it was never going to end. I'm like, when is this going to be done? You know, but we have to be willing to go through that process. So again, knowing where I was like, oh man, we should take it back. I was like, no, like this is why we were doing it. This is what was exciting about it. And even as simple as like changing something in your home, you know, but remembering that so that as you go through the ugly and the change part, like you don't get as frustrated. You're like, this is part of it. Like this is part of this process. It's going to be a little bit messy. The middle's messy and then it's beautiful, you know? So knowing that.
That's great. Thank you for that. That was selfishly very helpful. I'd like to open it up to the group. I know that it looks like Julian asked a question in the chat. He said, how do you handle imbalance in life when the achievement of your business goals demand the vast majority of your time over an extended amount when trying to, and then there's a second question. So why don't we take that part, you know, when it comes to.
All right. So how do you handle imbalance in life when the achievement of your business goals demand the vast majority of your time?
How do you like maintain that output?
I think it's okay to be in balance sometimes. I'm very anti the whole like balance thing. Like my balance is that like everything I want will get done, but I work very seasonal. Like there's certain times, like the next 10 weeks, I will work 16-hour days. And I choose to, because then I will go travel for 2-3 months straight. And then I will come back and work for a certain amount of time. And it's like, you know, so it's knowing, like, I think being okay with it. I think there's too much hype around like perfect balance week to week. And like, I just think that that's just kind of crap. Like when you're on a mission to do big things, like you're going to put a lot of time into what you're doing, and that's okay. But it's making time for the things that are important. Have to make time for those things. You need to have a date night with your partner. You need to have a family day with your family and make sure they know and feel loved. And then freaking crank out 18-hour days on your other stuff. Like that's okay. If they know you're on a mission and they know why, they're supportive, but you got to make time for them, you know? And so you got to set your boundaries of this is my, and even at night when you go home of like, this is my hour where the phone's off and the laptop's off and I'm just with the family for dinner. And then afterwards I'll go sit in bed and keep going, you know, or hey, it's my date night with my wife, my partner, whoever it is, and like I'm not doing anything for the rest of the night, you know. So I think it's being okay with being off balance, being off centered. That's just kind of how like life rolls. Especially the more successful you are, it's not that balance everyone talks about, but it's making time for the things that are important to you, and it's making time, Julian, to refuel yourself, because you can't operate on empty. You can't operate on reserves. You know, so you have to make sure you're taking time. And for me, that's waking up earlier so that I have the early morning to fuel myself. And I love Savers because it really helps you fuel emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. So you're filling all your energy sources so that you can keep going, operating on full. Where we get like, oh, I feel burnt out, I feel imbalanced. I feel like that's when we're operating on reserves. When we're operating on empty. When we're operating on full, we're like, let's go, go, go. And like, we have so much like emotional energy and we're happy and we're excited. So I would say just making sure you're taking time to refuel yourself. And that's different for everybody. And I usually have just I own a wellness company. And I just usually have a shake, and it has amazing micronutrient profile. So I get like so many vitamins, so much good stuff. I don't eat anything like too heavy in the morning. Usually when I do like brunch and we do like the whole like waffles and pancakes and eggs Benedict or anything, like I feel so heavy and like, I don't do much those days. I just like eat and be happy. But during the weekdays, like I need energy high. So you need things that are fueling you, green juices. I mean, you can eat eggs, you can eat other stuff, but just be careful with what you're putting, because there's some things that take a lot more time to process. And a lot of heavy carbs in the morning too can like kind of drag you down. So just being careful with it. And there's like the right ones to have. That's a whole other conversation, but make sure you're fueling your body the right things for sure. And I said here, when trying to achieve your most important goal, what was the biggest struggle? How did you deal with it mentally, emotionally? How long did it take you to achieve that big goal? That's a great question. I have a lot of different answers because I have a lot of different goals and went through different, like different processes with them. So the first one that came to me was when I was at first trying to hit a really big sales goal. It was actually the energy game. My biggest struggle was actually my lack of energy. I was dragging ass and I felt awful. And I was like trying to pour into people and I'm like, I just want to sleep. And I couldn't, and I kept trying to push. And you can't work like that long term. You gotta have things that pull you, and you gotta like just like be drawn over. And the lighter you are, I think the happier you are, and the better you're treating your body. And I wasn't treating my body properly, like that just came. And so when I had the energy, like that helped so many of my things, and then there were times where I was going through tough times. So I would say when you put here mentally and emotionally, I thought of my sister passing away, right? In the middle of the start of my most important season. And Hector knows, he worked in our company before. One of my companies, our season kicks off now this next week, and the next 10 weeks are really, really important and produce like 70% of our year. And my sister passed away the week after Mother's Day, like the third week of May. It was like May 18th, May 19th that night. And that was really hard to stay focused as we were going after this big audacious goal over, the next couple months. And by the way, our team wanted to win the national championship, be number one, break all sorts of records. We ended up still doing that. We won the national title that year. But man, it was hard. And so for me, mentally and emotionally, it was I took more time than normal to just like cry and journal and read and read inspiring things, and read for me from the Bible, read certain books and books that were okay about just like mourning and just kind of, letting go and knowing that being able to I journaled a lot. That's my answer. I journaled a lot and I read a lot of things that brought inspiring thoughts and gave me peace.
That's I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, I know that the intensity of those time periods and the amount of focus that goes into it.
Yeah.
So, totally. Carolyn said, thank you for your insight and authenticity.
Oh, absolutely, Carolyn.
I'd like to invite any other questions. We've got a few more minutes here as well. If anyone wants to unmute themselves or turn on their video and show their fancy faces. I did not do my makeup for today's call.
I did not either. So I came from the gym, true story, and I just like threw on a dress and this. I was like post gym. I had like an intense hot yoga, but it was like with weights. It's called like Warrior Sculpt. Freaking intense, and it's a heated class, and it was just it was awesome. So Julie, you said when you get sleepy during the day, how often do you exercise? Because when you're exercising a lot, and if I'm feeling down on energy, like I'll go run to the gym and get 30 minutes in of just like getting my blood flowing, because it gets your mind refocused, it pulls and throws your energy. And there's a lot of science behind that, but a lot there. And even throughout the day, like we have our group. It's called Live Elevated. And we share a lot of things. And my husband really runs that. He's like huge fitness buff. Everyone calls him like Muscle Man. I was like, are you married to Muscle Man? I'm like, huh? I'm like, oh yeah, I guess. He's, very, very conscious about that. But we eat pretty clean. We eat pretty clean and about 70% plant-based, and are just careful about that. And we know that when we eat pizza, or French fries or whatever, we will feel like shit. We already know that. And do we do it? Oh yeah, we do it. But we like consciously know when to do it because we're not going to have energy to function. So it's like a weekend we're doing nothing. And then usually the next day we always regret it. But then we always do it again the next week. We're like, we shouldn't have done that. My body's dying. And then we're like, pizza, all right, like, so we've had some fun with it too, because like I love Mexican food, I love pizza, I love burgers. So I started like finding a big part for me of Elevated was finding how to make tasty healthy and finding healthy alternatives. So I love tacos. So I learned how to make like vegan cheese from plants, and then we make tacos with like walnuts and Brazil nuts, use it as ground beef, and I season it like beef and cook it up and get all the taco toppings. And instead of flour tortillas, I use lettuce wraps, and sometimes we use corn tortillas and stuff too. But I know with the lettuce wraps, I'm going to feel lighter and I'm going to feel more energized. With pizza, we've made cauliflower crust and made our own stuff and made our own cheese or gotten some. And so then we just feel a lot better because we're eating all plants on that pizza versus hardcore carbs and hardcore dairy. So all the things we love to eat, we have found better options of them, either at local restaurants or learned how to make things ourselves so that we can still enjoy those things that we love, like chocolate milkshakes. I freaking love chocolate milkshakes. I make the best one that's super healthy. Everything you put in it is serving your body, but you taste like you're cheating and having this amazing chocolate, banana, peanut butter milkshake. And you're like, yes. And it's like all goodness for your body, so I just found ways because like I'm a fatty at heart and I love to eat like everything and anything. And I love sweets and I love everything. I'm like, everyone looks at me like, how do you eat so much? I'm like, I just love food, but I'm like, what can I eat that still satiates that craving for that flavor? Like my dad loves jerk chicken, but we were doing more plant-based to help him with his health. So I got portobello mushrooms and made jerk mushrooms and grilled them. And he was like, oh, hell yeah. And it still had that flavor profile. And he was so excited, but he was having things that served him. So hopefully that answers that question.
Fantastic stuff. And I think it's fitting that the nutrition is a big part of what just fuels you and gives you the energy to go out there and
that's where Elevated came from. Like my company, Elevated Fitness and Nutrition, it launched from seeing my decline and what I was saying before about like my energy was so crappy. And it was, I remember my mid 20s. This was 2006, 2007. I felt this decline. I was crashing and it wasn't the same energy I had years before as I was doing my business. And I was like, oh my God, I was like turning 25 and I was like, I'm dying right now. Like I just felt horrible. And so I started making switches. And that's for me where that came from because I watched so many of my salespeople trying to grind out big days, big goals, and they're just drinking coffee all day, energy drinks, putting gasoline in their body, eating fast food, and they're wondering why they feel like shit and aren't focused and aren't operating at the level that they can. And so I started teaching my guys when we'd have sales competitions, I would literally be like, all right, for 2 weeks, here's your challenge. All right, you're going to do your normal work, but you're not going to eat fast food for 2 weeks. And I would put a Vitamix in the office, a steamer, a toaster oven, like all this stuff and like options so that they could put real food in their body. I'm like, stop at the store, bring it here, throw the chicken in there while you're making phone calls. And then when the chicken's done, boom, eat it, put some rice, whatever. But just showing them to like eat some real food because you're like, how am I not functioning? But you're like literally not putting real nutrients or fuel into your body. That's why you're not functioning. Anyway, I can go off on that for a long time.
Let's talk about, I'd love to have you share two things. The first is, where can you, we mentioned cathychristen.com.
Best place to find me.
Mm-hmm. Best place to find you. And then you're also active on Instagram and a little bit on Facebook.
Yep. And I'll put here my it's Cathy with a C. V is the middle initial. My maiden name is Vasquez. And then Christen with a CH. So I just put it at Cathy V. Christen is my Instagram. And also Facebook is just facebook.com/Cathy V. Christen. So that is there. And by the way, Julian, every Tuesday I interview somebody and you can go on to Cathy Christen. There's some there. The rest are in the Live Elevated group because I usually share them in there. But I interview somebody in the health and wellness field from chiropractors, nutritionists, trainers, and just people who are helping overall impact spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical energy because I wanted to teach people about like just little hacks, to help them have more energy to be able to go out and live a life they love.
And then is that at cathychristen.com? I'd love for you to share kind of the variety of brands. I know you also have a new brand that you're kicking off and starting as well. So
I probably need to put hyperlinks on everything. So Live Elevated Community, what I just put there is on Facebook, where's like all the health stuff. So I have, Cutco Vector, we have our wellness company, Elevated, which our website, and you can check it out. By the way, I strongly recommend, Julian said, everything you're saying right now is me. Stop drinking Red Bulls and all that, trying to like stay active. I actually have a really all natural boost that's amazing and fuels your body. But we liveelevatedfn.com is our website. And so we just have two products. We have a protein that's full of nutrients. So it's really good, especially if you don't eat the right food, to get those nutrients in your body so you're functioning at the highest level. And we have an energy boost to replace coffee and all the energy drinks. That's amazing. So those two things are all we have in terms of product. All of our stuff is about awareness and education right now, and getting word out and teaching people like how to like live better. But those are our two flagship products that we'll build with to help people replace the energy crap, and then also put more nutrients in their body. You could sneak it in, because I'll put the protein in like pancakes, cake. I make smoothies, I make milkshakes, with it. So that's cool. And then I do facilitation work. And so everything's in there. Like I do coaching. I'm a life and business strategist. So people hire me for business coaching. And right now, the website's almost done for Start Girl. If you know anyone who wants to start a business or really wants to like restart, because maybe they didn't do it the right way at first, Start Girl that's me. I'm the Start Girl. And so helping people going through the 5 steps of solidifying their idea, of making sure they know who is their target market, what problem are they solving, how, why, mapping out the logistics and financials, so doing all their marketing plan, business model, funding, budget projections, organization, infrastructure, payroll, talking about culture and what that looks like, how to bring on and retain the right people, what it looks like to work in your business, like all that feel, and how to have difficult conversations is really important for just life in general. And then making it official, as well as getting the word out, which I'll have partners with all these things. Hector is the man for getting the word out, and all the social media plan, ad strategy, all that stuff. Amazing. But I'll be working with some cool people, and so it's something we need to talk about more, actually, to have like a one-stop shop to help people get their businesses up and running. So really excited about that.
This has been fantastic. David asked about the PDF. I put the link in there at cathychristen.com. Just access it from some sort of desktop or a laptop, and then
right, it'll pop up, and just put it there, and it'll come right to you.
It'll get to you. Cathy, any parting words as we kind of sign off and get out of here? I know they're going to get a chance. If you guys want to go deeper, you guys can hang out with Cathy live at our conference in October, and she's going to be running a workshop and talking and speaking, and so. Any parting words that you want to leave with the community?
Well, I'd say, first off, don't let life just happen. Be intentional about what you want to happen. So that is my thing always, is just like live intentionally. Like if you want this, if you want to feel like this, if you want to do this, like take the right actions that are aligned with that. Don't be afraid to think big about what's possible for your life, because anything is possible. And the most amazing, incredible things that have ever been created, and the most successful people like just thought bigger about what was possible, and they didn't let all the bull crap and the naysayers get in the way. So don't think it's just for them. It's for anybody who's willing to think big and go after it, and keep going after it no matter what happens. So know that, and there's incredible communities, people around you. They're here to support and encourage in this journey. So don't try to do it alone. So those would be my biggest thoughts.
Bunch of truth bombs. This has been great. Susan said awesome info, and I agree.
Thanks, Susan.
It's going to be awesome in October, getting the chance to have you officially introduced in person to the One Life community, because I feel like you're cut from the same cloth. Susan, did you want to say anything?
I just want to thank everybody for being here today, and thanks for the awesome stuff, Cathy. It's funny. Personally, I'm at a crossroads. My kids graduated high school, and I achieved a lot of the things in my professional career to this point. And so I'm totally in that. Tim had me read Dream Manager, and my husband and I and my oldest son, who's home right now, just started having those kinds of conversations. And I think that there's so many times in your life that these things apply, or like you coast, and so it's good information today, timely for me, because it's like, okay, like honestly, personally, I'm doing rewarding work, but it's been a long time since I've looked at myself. So it's
Right.
good stuff. Thank you.
Awesome to hear. Yeah, I say that always. Like anytime you're in transition, and especially the empty nesters, like I work with a lot of empty nesters. They're like, well, now my life has been about my kids, and like I don't even remember what I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's so it. So and everybody, boy, join us in Long Beach. It's really shaping up to be a superstar. Cathy will be on main stage. So, woohoo!
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I've got to get going. I actually have a sales meeting going on over there. It's a background crazy noise. But thank you guys so much for having me, and super excited to connect more with the community, and really excited for October.
Thanks, Kathy. We will see you in a bit.
Yeah.
All right, guys, for the rest of you guys who are still here, thank you for always hanging out with the One Life community. It really is, we know it's important to provide these opportunities for you guys to connect outside of the conferences, and to have a reoccurring place where you can come back and be around One Lifers. So just a couple of tidbits that are coming out. We do have a new One Life roadmap journal that's coming out for kids. Somebody asked what are the ages, and really the reality is that if they can read, then they'll benefit from it, and if they're graduating college, they'll benefit just the same. It really is for anybody who's just getting out into the world. These are the journals that all of the high school students are getting at our One Life Dare to Dream program, and so they'll be available for you publicly in the coming days. So stay tuned for that. And then we mentioned a little bit that we have an amazing lineup for our conference in October. It's really shaping up to be, like Susan said, a host of all-stars, and it definitely shaping up to be our best conference yet. So get registered, bring the family, bring the friends, bring everybody, and it'll be a great time.